I think one should have a little bit more sympathy for George Freeman, the man who was a junior science minister who complained about his mortgage. And he has said, I looked more closely at what he's actually written. He was the person who said that he couldn't afford to pay his mortgage on a £118,300 ministerial salary. And that's not simply the issue. Various constituents were interviewed by the BBC, among them Jamie Langham, who says he has no sympathy. Bill Borrett, chairman of the Mid Norfolk Conservative Association, defended Mr. Freeman and said he had the association's full support. An MP telling the truth is always unusual. I think it's an endearing quality, to be honest. People like that. People will like that, won't they? And the criticism, he says, comes from people who he says, well, maybe they're not supporters of the Conservatives. Well, let's look at what he's actually said. What he's actually said is slightly more than just his mortgage rising this month. He says that he is exhausted, or he left the government last year because he was exhausted, because he was bust, because he was depressed, and he had started to lose optimism and the endeavour, teamwork, and progress, which are the fundamentals. And because my mortgage rises this month from £800 to £2,000, which is, of course, an explicit criticism of Liz Truss's behaviour last year. It rises, and which I simply couldn't afford, on which I simply couldn't afford a ministerial salary. We're in danger of making politics out of something only hedge fund donors, young spin doctors, and failed trade unionists could afford to do. I think he's quite right. Politics is rapidly becoming something that only a very small group in our society can possibly get involved with, and we need to cast the net wider. We need a greater diversity of views, a greater diversity of opinion, and possibly a diversity of parties, a greater diversity than we've got at the moment. We need to get rid of this two-party system, because the two-party system is stifling and clearly doesn't work. Because in the Conservative Party, they may have take pride in the idea that the Conservatives are an umbrella organisation that encompasses a wide range of views, but only one view is actually getting any leverage at the moment, and that's the view of the far right, the Rwanda flag-waving set, who have pursued a series of extraordinarily vindictive and abusive policies. And the Tufton Road people, this is a very small group of people, have commanded the Conservative Party. And I think the same sort of thing took place in the Labour Party a while ago. A very small group of people took over the party. What we need is to hear those voices, and because those voices betray an enthusiasm for debate, an enthusiasm for opinion, which I think is commendable. What we need is to have the range of debate, the range of opinion, so that one particular group doesn't monopolize the public discussion and indeed dictate to others. That is a form of tyranny, and we are fast approaching a tyrannical government, albeit an elected one. The tyranny of power over a 5-year term can be quite aggressive and can be quite destructive, as one would see if one looked back over history, like for example the tyranny of Sulla, the tyranny of Mario, at the end of the Roman Republic. For a very short space of time, these people did considerable damage. Caesar. In so many ways, Alexander the Great. There's a superb new Netflix documentary on Alexander the Great and how he becomes a god, the making of a god, I think that's the subtitle. But it's such a beautifully made film, so much better than the Cleopatra film that they made, and actually building on the strengths of the films about the Roman emperors and the great David Levine giving his observations and it's such a another man incidentally who wears a bow tie and I love the structure of these programs, but I also love the clear exhibition of thought and funding. These two things going together, which sadly is not something that we can see in the present Conservative Party. But there we are. If you get an opportunity, do have a look at Alexander on Netflix. It came out yesterday, and it's something. It's something you'll be glued to. 38 minutes an episode, well worth watching.